Hi, Tilty Carlson here. How many home video releases of the Dragon Ball franchise are there? I have no idea. I also don't think there's a definitive answer. But a few years ago in Japan, Toei actually put out new remastered versions of the movies on Blu-ray. These transfers have never been released in America. So I wanted to try to import one of these discs and just see how they are. So the disc I got my hands on was this one. This is Dragon Ball The Movies, number 1. This includes movies 1 and 2 in the Dragon Ball Z series, Dead Zone and The World's Strongest, as they're called in America. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. There's a close-up. Got Goku on the flying Nimbus, Scarlet Jr. gripping one of the Dragon Balls, and Dr. Wheelo down in the corner. Title of the set there, number 1 right there. Spine text. Back cover's got descriptions of the movies and features, all in Japanese, of course. I cannot read Japanese, so can't really say much there. In the case, we have our actual disc. Both movies are contained on one Blu-ray disc. There's this sheet here. I'm guessing this is just like how to care for your disc. Again, all in Japanese. We even get a little booklet in here as well, which is kind of nice because the Funimation releases don't usually include inserts, so another area where the Japanese have the leg up on the American releases. And here you got, the story, some character profiles. Yeah, Garlic Jr. and his minions. Then you get like the beginning of the World's Strongest section there. Yeah, Dr. Wheelo, Dr. Kochin, all his henchmen and villains. Inside the case, it's just blank. I really wish they'd printed a background on there or something. The Dragon Ball Z movies are essentially side stories that don't really fit into the main plot. But they're pretty much just created for entertainment purposes. They at least fulfill that itch for the most part. Dead Zone is sort of an interquel set between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, where Goku's son Gohan is kidnapped by Garlic Jr. because of the Dragon Ball in his hat. Garlic Jr. uses the Dragon Balls to wish for immortality, and Goku has to go rescue his son and stop a villain who's immortal. The second movie, The World's Strongest, revolves around Dr. Wheelo, who was once a brilliant scientist, but only his brain survives in a mechanized body of sorts. His underling, Dr. Kochin, leaves the lab and uses the Dragon Balls to melt the ice around the lab, setting him free. They want to capture the world's strongest martial artist, so Dr. Wheelo can transfer himself into that body. Of course, they don't realize that Goku is now the strongest man in the world, and thinking Master Roshi is still the strongest man in the world, they kidnap him. And before long, the Z Fighters are engaged in another battle against a powerful foe. I wouldn't say either one of these movies is exactly the high watermark of the Dragon Ball Z franchise, but they're certainly entertaining films. I mean, again, there's little plot inconsistencies and things like that prevent them from fitting into the actual series timeline. Although Garlic Jr. was eventually revisited in the filler anime-only Garlic Jr. saga, so this is at least a precursor to that, if nothing else. And these movies are entertaining. They're certainly, better animated than your average episode of the TV show. I always find myself coming back to these, and they're fairly short, so you can usually shoot through one of these pretty quickly. Dead Zone's not much longer than maybe 2 episodes of the TV series. World's Strongest maybe about 3 episodes of the TV series. These actually were edited and broken down and shown on Cartoon Network back in the day as episodes of sorts, albeit with edits. Now, one thing I do need to tell you about this release. This is a Japanese release, so it is Japanese audio only, and there are also no English subtitles. So this is certainly playable in American players, but it's not really American audience friendly. All the packaging, all the inserts, and all the dialogue and print on the disc is in Japanese. Now, on the other hand, I've seen these movies so many times, I know exactly what's going on, even without audible or readable dialogue. And as far as picture quality goes, these are easily the best these movies have ever looked. Funimation never really put out great-looking versions of the movies and couldn't quite decide what the aspect ratio should be. A lot of the older Funimation releases of the movies were actually open matte full screen, whereas they went back to using the theatrical widescreen ratio on everything from their Steelbook double feature DVDs forward. These, of course, are in that widescreen ratio as well, which is how they were shown in Japanese cinemas back in the day. These are definitely much more natural looking transfers than the ones that we got from Funimation, which were just really heavily slathered with digital noise reduction. So again, easily the best the movies have ever looked. I only wish this release had some English audio and some English subtitles. Yeah, Crunchyroll really needs to license these particular transfers in America because they put everything to shame that's come out here before, at least in terms of the picture quality. I do also want to add that I have read some articles that say some of these releases are actually censored. There are some later movies that have instances of characters extending their middle fingers, and those have apparently been removed. However, all of the quote-unquote objectionable content from these two movies all seems to be intact. Cartoon Network edited out scenes of things like Goku's naked rear, Gohan peeing on Krillin, and a shot of panties in The World's Strongest. All of that stuff is intact here. As far as I can tell, the movies are uncut. For bonus features, we actually get some previews, trailers, and TV commercials for the releases, and there are chapter select menus on the discs as well. It's all in Japanese, but it's not too hard to figure out what's what when you start looking around. So I have to say, should you get this release, it really depends on who you are and what you want. I mean, if you're like me and you've seen these movies so many times, you know exactly what's going on, lack of English audio and subtitles probably isn't going to be that big of a deal to you. But if you want a more traditional, more convenient way to experience them, you might have to stick with the Funimation releases for now. I do hope that, Funimation, Crunchyroll, whatever you want to call them now, eventually does decide to license these transfers. They are by far the best these movies have ever looked. So again, a great looking release, but just know what you're getting. How about you? Have you picked up any of these Dragon Ball movie double feature sets from Japan yet? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.